Welcome everybody to the Latin Nerds Network. My name is Jose, and this is my review for Mean Girls, my second review of 2024. My second review in as many days. I went to see Night Swim yesterday. You can see that review on the channel. I was hoping this would be better than Night Swim. You know, one of the kind of it's always nice to get the year kicked off on the right foot, and it wasn't like that after watching Night Swim. So hopefully Mean Girls could change that because I was kind of looking forward to this. I was a huge fan of Mean Girls. This came out almost 20 years ago. A movie which I didn't even see in the theaters. I saw it years later because this movie didn't seem like it was going to be as far as my demographic, and I was totally wrong. People kept telling me to watch it. I did. I enjoyed it a lot. Tina Fey, who wrote the original, also wrote this new remake. Obviously Lindsay Lohan when she was still, I guess, at the height of her powers before she just took a straight head dive into the dumpster after that film. In her personal life anyway, well, professional life too. Let's be honest. But it's a lot of fun. As a almost kind of such a memorable film, much better than I thought that movie was ever should have been. And so many cool lines, and the whole Gate of Function line, and the fetch, and the whole Jingle Bell Rock routine, all that. A lot of iconic moments and lines in that film, which still holds up today. So, but this one here is a little bit different in terms of it's really based off the Broadway musical. Mean Girls, of course, and this movie is also written by Tina Fey. So there you go, and she actually comes back and she's playing the same math teacher that she did in the original film. And this one here, it definitely plays more of a reboot, reimagining, I guess, or a remake, if it was not a continuation, nothing like this. Isn't 20 years later, the original girls have their kids, nothing like that. Just basically a remake of that film, which kind of I thought was probably not the right way to go. And I'm not familiar with Mean Girls, maybe not against a 20-year-old movie, but here we have, we got the young girl, Caddy, who was, grew up in Kenya, and, she moved back to the States with her mom, and she's trying to assimilate back into society, right? Particularly high school society, which is for her a huge departure from what she's used to. She doesn't really fit in. She makes a couple of friends, and she catches the attention of one Regina George and her girl mates, known as the Plastics, the very the top of the food chain when it comes to the high school anyway. And they're admired and hated at the same time, and she kind of becomes part of that, and she kind of loses herself and forgets who she truly is as she tries to be like them at a certain point in order to gain information and to kind of bring them down, but she just becomes part of them, right? So she kind of learns that wasn't the right way to go, and et cetera, et cetera. So this movie takes the same approach. There's nothing changes here, and in all, this movie is not a bad film. It's just lazy because, man, it's like a virtual shot by shot of the original, with the exception of putting in musical numbers, and musical numbers were okay, and I was okay with the fact that it's a musical and something different and unique, but the music didn't really stand out. None of the numbers really stood out for the most part. They could have had a lot of fun with that, and I didn't get the sense because the first movie is kind of wacky at times, interesting, very smart humor, very sharp humor, and this movie really brought nothing new to the table. And the dialogue was almost the same beats as the first films. Like if you've seen the original, this offers nothing new except for some songs in there which aren't that well done, to be honest with you. So it's like, what's the point? I'm not saying this movie's bad. I think some people, if you haven't seen the original, you may get more enjoyment out of it. And it's okay to have some of the same dialogue, some of the same lines. We want to do the fetch routine, sure, why not? And that's okay. But man, it's like dialogue directly taken from the original film. Almost, I'll say 75% of the film is we've seen before. They added a couple of few new wrinkles, and some of those new wrinkles actually worked and how they're presented. And I wish the movie took more chances and did something different, particularly with even the subject matter now that's been 20 years. And, we got social media now, which wasn't around back when this movie came out. And it did make some attempts to kind of incorporate that, just not enough for me to make it unique and original, give something a different take. And even now with the social climate that we're in, they could have had a lot of fun with that, but they didn't. They stuck to the exact same premise, exact same, beats by beat of the original film for the most part. Some minor changes. They don't do the Jingle Bell Rock song. It's a different song. It's fine, and that doesn't bother me. I prefer that. I can try to mix it up, and that scene was kind of changed to a certain degree. But all in all, it's the same film, and just not as memorable, not as good, and not as funny. And it's kind of a shame because I really would want, particularly Tina Fey, and how her sharp wit just doesn't really shine here in this film. It's just okay. I enjoyed it because I liked the original. It's cool to see some of the same lines and stuff. But I just wanted a little bit more out of this. And for that, like I said, I can always go back and watch the original. If you haven't seen the original, and you have interest in seeing this, see the original. It's a much better film. I don't that's I mean, again, on film is subjective, of course. Your opinion may differ, but honestly, I think the original is just far superior in this film. If I hadn't seen the original, this movie just would have been fine. It's okay, nothing memorable. This wouldn't have the lasting impression that the original Mean Girls would have had. I don't think it ever will. So that being said, listen, if you're a fan of Mean Girls, you really want to see it, I get it. I'm sure it's gonna, have its fan base, particularly with the younger crowd. I get it. But if you're, a little bit older, big fan of the original, this one's probably not gonna do anything new at all. And you probably just stay home, watch the original, save yourself the time and money, and leave it at that. But that being said, if you do watch Mean Girls, comment below, let me know what you guys thought. And of course, if you haven't done so already, subscribe below and feed money to go to the movies and talk about afterwards. See you guys next time.